say shy, maybe we're embarrassed or something. We'll try to speak a few words on this subject matter of Lord Ramchandra pastimes. And today we're reading from text number 5. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Kindly repeat. Vishvamitra. Advare. Yena. Maricha. Adyaha. Nisha. Charaha. Pashyataha. Lakshmanasya. Eva. Ataha. Nairita. Pungavaha. Vishvamitradvareyena. Marichadya nishacharaha. Pashyato lakshmanasyaiva. Hatanarita pungavaha. Vishvamitradvareyena. Marichadya nishacharaha. Pashyato lakshmanasyaiva. Hatanaita pangavaha. Vishvamitradvareyena. Marichadya nishacharaha. Pashyato lakshmanasyaiva. Hatanaita pungavaha. Vishvamitradvareyena. Marichadya nishacharaha.
Pashyato lakshmanasyaiva.
Hatanarita pungavaha. Vishvamitradvareyena. Marichadya nishacharaha. Pashyato lakshmanasyaiva. Hatanarita pungavaha.
Vishvamitradvareyena. Marichadya nishacharaha. Pashyato lakshmanasyaiva. Hatanarita pungavaha.
Vishvamitradvareyena. Marichadya nishacharaha. Pashyato lakshmanasyaiva. Hatanarita pungavaha. Vishvamitradvareyena. Marichadya nishacharaha. Pashyato lakshmanasyaiva. Marichaja Nishacharaha Ashyato Lakshmanasya Hatanarita Pungavaha Vishvamitra Dvareyena Marichaja Nishacharaha Ashyato Lakshmanasya Hatanarita Pungavaha Vishvamitra Advare. In the sacrificial arena of the great sage Vishvamitra, Yena, by whom Lord Ramchandra, Maricha Adyaha, headed by Maricha, Nishacharaha, the uncivilized persons, wandering at night, in the darkness of ignorance, Pasyataha, Lakshmanasya, being seen by Lakshmana, Eva, indeed, Hataha, were killed, Nairita Pungavaha, the great chiefs of the Rakshasas. Translation, no purport, translation by Srila Prabhupada. Does anyone need, have you got a French translation going on? Great. Anyone else need French translation? No, that's okay. In the arena of the sacrifice performed by Vishvamitra, Lord Ramchandra, the king of Ayodhya, killed many demons, Rakshasas, and uncivilized men who wandered at night in the mode of darkness. May Lord Ramachandra, who killed these demons in the presence of Lakshmana, be kind enough to give us protection. This is a summary given here by Shukdev Goswami of the very extensive pastimes of Lord Ramchandra, which some of us may have read the Ramayana, may be aware of some of these pastimes which took place millions of years ago according to history, but are ever fresh even today. Since we don't read very often maybe the Ramayana, we have it available in English version, Krishna Dharma Prabhu and others. Wonderful presentation of these. All over the world we see people attracted to Ram, Thailand. You see in the Emerald Palace there, King's Palace in Bangkok, all around. The pastimes of Lord Ramchandra are depicted on the palace walls. All the streets of Bangkok are named after him, all the old original ones. Ram, Ayodhya, capital of Thailand was Ayodhya before. All over Asia practically, even today you see signs or recognition of Lord Ramchandra. In Indonesia, Malaysia, Muslim countries, the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra are the most popular when comes to drama or dance, art, embedded there. They're eternal. Not like the temporary pastimes of this world today, which we experience, some so-called famous person, or some war going on now, which will be insignificant in the future. But this whole pastime of Lord Ramchandra, it's just so sweet to hear. We may not put so much emphasis on it for other reasons. It was the first, I would say the first literature which I ever read which really turned my heart, was the Ramayana. Way before I had ever heard of the Hare Krishna movement. It's very powerful, potent, even today. Even if not properly presented, it's still got some heart-changing effects if we hear it. So we're not going to get into that aspect. The only part of this verse which I would like to emphasize is protection. It's a benediction almost. A request, an appeal. May that Lord please be kind enough to give us protection. What is that protection? In what way does the Lord protect us? What way?
Protects our spiritual advancement.
Protects our spiritual lives or our advancement.
To protect our consciousness.
Pardon?
He protects our consciousness.
Protects our consciousness, is related. Protects us from demons. And where are the demons? Where are they?
Government.
Uh-huh.
Government.
Which ones? Uh-huh.
Government.
Some people, we won't quote that one. Some people may say like that, some people may say some individuals. But okay, the Lord can do that also in a sense. But that's not the real protection. What's the protection that He gives us? Huh?
From death.
Pardon?
From death.
Yeah, you could say from death, from repeated birth and death. Suffering, whatever you want to call it. Protecting us from falling into Maya. Huh? Or let's say, I don't know if we can say falling into Maya, we're already in Maya, but protect us from staying in Maya. Going further into Maya, whatever it is. The devotee takes shelter of the Lord. Even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very interesting, isn't it? When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he also, like Lord Ramchandra here, we were hearing yesterday a little bit about how he was by the trickery, whatever you want to call it, the promises, the request of Kaikeyi, how Lord Ramchandra was banished to the forest for 14 years. He took it very joyfully, because everyone else was devastated. Lord Chaitanya also did. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Mayapur and Navadvip with his family and friends, everyone performing Sankirtan Yajna. He was experiencing ecstatic devotional service, but he left. Took sannyas and just left for another reason. And when he left, what was he said, chanting many mantras maybe. Specifically, there's one mantra which he was chanting as he would go along the roads.
Krishna, Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna, Krishna, hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshama. Krishna, 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 Pahima. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava Rakshama, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava Bahimam. Here's the Supreme Lord, but he's singing this, and what does it mean?
Protection.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Protection.
Singing, calling out. Even Lord Ram, my dear Lord Ram, descendant of the Raghu dynasty, please protect me. Please protect me. So here also, please give us protection. The killer of the demons, descendant of the Raghu dynasty. But he's also going, as Lord Ramchandra went into the forest. Many reasons you could analyze why he went. Lord Chaitanya also going into the forest. Lord Krishna also used to go every day into the forest. Dangerous forest. I was talking to one devotee yesterday in Ikiye. Met them in the marketplace there. They said they're chanting 16 rounds again. And they chant around the forest. I said, you don't go in the forest? No, I'm afraid. Too dangerous in the forest. Wild animals. What wild animals in the forest? Deer. But then, like that. The forest is usually understood to be dangerous. But the whole material world, the fifth canto of Bhagavatam, forest of enjoyment is there. Dangerous forest. This material is a dangerous place. Samasita ye padapalavaplavam. Mahatpadam punya yashomorare. Bhavam badir vatsa param param padam param param yad. Ipadam nate sham. This material world is danger every step. We may not think like that. We've got our police force. We don't need to worry. We've got the doctor. We've got, the army. Science. We'll be okay. No need to worry. So as we've been hearing about most people, they don't believe in anything after this life anyway. But they think, I'll be protected. Surely they'll protect me. They'll find some medicine to cure me. Put me in the deep freeze, and then when they find it, defrost me. We're all struggling to survive, searching for how will I be protected. Inevitable miseries of material existence, birth, death, disease, old age, threefold miseries. There is no shelter in this world. Only those who take shelter, Marari, the Supreme Lord, only those who take shelter of Him can cross over this dangerous ocean. There's no other method. We may be thinking, we can be protected by a strong boat, by medicine, by parents and so on, but what can they do? Maybe it looks like they can delay or adjust a little bit, but the real problem still remains. The problem is solved by taking shelter of the Lord, and even by hearing His pastimes. This changes the heart. The cause of suffering is not this enemy here, that one there. It's, as we heard yesterday, it's our sheer forgetfulness of Krishna. We've forgotten our relationship. It's like a kid, little child, separated from its mother. We all had this experience. Perhaps we may even have a remembrance ourselves of being in this situation. But we see it all around. When the child is separated from its parents, little one, the child is petrified, terrified, afraid, crying, screaming. No one can pacify the child. Only that reconnection with the parents is the only. Then the child is relieved in the safe hands of its mother, in the lap of its mother. Devotional service is the process of returning, say, back to the lap of the Lord, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We go on to the next verse. I won't read the Sanskrit, just the English. Text number 6 and 7. O King, Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Parikshit, the pastimes of Lord Ramchandra were wonderful, like those of a baby elephant. In the assembly where Mother Sita was to choose her husband, in the midst of the heroes of this world, he broke the bow belonging to Lord Shiva. This bow was so heavy that it was carried by 300 men. But Lord Ramchandra bent and strung it and broke it in the middle, just as a baby elephant breaks a stick of sugar cane. Thus, the Lord achieved the hand of Mother Sita, who was equally as endowed with transcendental qualities of form, beauty, behavior, age, and nature. Indeed, she was the goddess of fortune, who constantly rests on the chest of the Lord. While returning from Sita's home, after gaining her at the assembly of competitors, Lord Ramchandra met Parashuram. Although Parashuram was very proud, having rid the earth of the royal order 21 times, he was defeated by the Lord, who appeared to be a Kshatriya of the royal order. We will go on to the next verse, text number 8. Carrying out the order of his father, who was bound by a promise to his wife, Lord Ramchandra left behind his kingdom, opulence, friends, well-wishers, residence, and everything else. Just as a liberated soul gives up his life and went to the forest with Sita. And there's a purport here by Srila Prabhupada. Maharaja Dasharat was the father of Lord Ramchandra, had 3 wives. One of them, Kaikeyi, served him very pleasingly, and he therefore wanted to give her a benediction. Previously, this wife had accompanied Dasarath on one of his missions, and it so happened that Dasarath became involved in a battle, and he was seriously injured. And Kaikeyi came to the rescue and assisted him in the situation. So he gave her these promises. Kaikeyi, however, said that she would ask the benediction when it was necessary. At the time of the coronation of Prince Ramchandra, Kaikeyi requested her husband to enthrone her son, Bharat, and send Ramchandra to the forest. Maharaj Dasharat, being bound by his promise, ordered Ramchandra to go to the forest, according to the dictation of his beloved. And the Lord, as an obedient son, accepted the order immediately. He left everything without hesitation, just as a liberated soul or great yogi gives up his life without material attraction. This is often you could say, a perplexing subject matter, misunderstood, and without proper explanation. How is this all happening? Well, it is described, it's by the will of providence. That Mantara, the servant of Kaikeyi, intervened at the coronation of Lord Ram, reminding Kaikeyi of these two promises, installing in Kaikeyi's heart a feeling towards, you could say, animosity practically, towards Lord Ramchandra. By various trickery and various arguments, she convinced Kaikeyi that she should now ask for these promises to protect her. If Ramchandra were to become the king, you will just become like a meaningless maidservant, and your son will be probably banished. Some or other, by the will of Providence, she convinced Kaikeyi, and as the whole pastime unfolds, the whole kingdom was astonished when she asked for these boons. And of course, Kaushalya, the actual mother, another queen of Lord Ramchandra, of King Dasharath, and Dasharath himself were completely overwhelmed that their son was to be sent away to the forest. That was the biggest blow. Not that he wasn't to be coronated, but that he'd be sent away. Kaushalya said, I would give up my life. Surely the service to the mother is greater than the service to the father. You may be bound by the promise, as we heard from Maharaja yesterday, how the father is, if the father is like the spiritual master in one sense, Dharma, religious principles meant for the liberation of the living entity are meant to be followed. Morality, disobeying one's superior is against Dharma. Lord Ramchandra was not going to break whatever promise was made. But his mother was trying to convince him that service to the mother, if you go away, I will give up my body, and you will be the cause of my death, which is a greater adharmic activity than disobeying the order or the request of your father. She put forward various arguments to try to convince him, no, stay. Have you ever heard that? Sometimes even with a devotee, maybe before we decide to move or to join the temple or whatever, how one's parents may sometimes be giving so many arguments. Maybe the mother says like that specifically. I don't know your experience, but mine was a little like that, almost a threat of, I'll give up my life if you go away and join these Haris, join this cult. Father's trying to make some reasonable arguments. The mother is a big challenge, huh? Imagine. Well, we may not have even that relationship may not have been quite what it could have been, or maybe we didn't have too much to give up. But here we see Lord Ramchandra is loved by everybody. The most loving. Even Kaikeyi loved him more than her own son, practically. But her mind was twisted in this way. Well, the will of providence is going on here. Bigger plan. Imagine, we wouldn't have the Ramayana to talk about practically if this hadn't happened. The Lord performs his pastime, so Prabhupada one time said, so we have things to think about. Well, what the hell are we going to think about? Our minds will be occupied in some petty war in Ukraine. I mean, it's significant to the people involved, no doubt. Very. But in reality, in history, it's nothing. Tiny in the course of history. Few entities fighting over nothing. But, and even if you hear about it, which of course the world has been, now there may be other subjects now, something to occupy people's minds. Kali Yuga particularly. It was COVID for 2 years. Huh? COVID. People were day and night. Huh? I know people who were literally day and night watching the news, COVID news. Does it cure COVID by watching it? Does it make you feel blissful? Maybe some people with certain types of warped mentality or something. Same thing with war. There'll be another thing next. We always have to have something, huh? To occupy our minds. The fellow said, Krishna, Ramchandra, all these forms have performed so many pastimes. Things to think about. It's not just a matter of thinking about something. Huh? You can think about whatever, but there's a difference. There's a big difference in thinking about, at least from the bona fide source, the Bhagavatam, bona fide Ramayana, etc. The effect of remembering those pastimes is a little different. The effect of remembering or thinking about material, temporary events is we become further implicated, further entangled in the material world, more suffering. Doesn't bring about the desired result of happiness. But by hearing about the Lord's pastimes from the right source, the result is what you get. Tired? Sometimes we right? It says, Bhagavatam class is a good cure for insomnia. Huh? Somebody fall asleep. But if we actually hear, what's the effect?
Become purified.
Become purified. What else?
Attraction.
Become happier. Yeah, it's a fact. It's almost inconceivable. Almost inconceivable. From the material perspective, it's hard to understand why. Because we're coming in contact with the reservoir of pleasure. Ram is the supreme enjoyer. Most purifying. It's our constitutional nature. It's not hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord is not a means to an end. It can be seen like that in the beginning, maybe. It's not. You see Mother Yasoda, we hear about Mother Yasoda, and she's always singing of Krishna's glories, right? Pastimes, always. Pure devotees, satatam kirtiyanto mam. They're always chanting the glories of the Lord. So they're always protected. That protection means that we're not absorbed in subject matters which will cause us to have to take birth and death in this world and thus suffer. We're absorbed in more and more in subject matters of the holy name of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna, which we get to the root, not just on the surface. There are so many things on the surface. Adjust this. We've been hearing a few of them recently in the classes as well. Adjusting this, adjusting that, this thing, that thing. They're required in the whole Varnashram system has a process to help deal with this. We don't have that right now. It's a bit of a kitchery. And if you don't like carrots, hard luck, because there's carrots in the kitchery. It's a big mish. Varnashram society helps people to be in a situation according to their conditioning where they're more protected from hearing things which will disturb them or bewilder them, etc. or else, according to one's eligibility. But that's a means to an end. That's a part of the gradual waking up process. But the most effective even process, as we've been hearing, Harinama, either Kevalam, is the glorification, the congregational. This is the real solution. Otherwise it's just improving our material lot. Okay, there's a science behind that which can lead, it can become Daivi Varnashram, spiritual, but in of itself it remains material. But accompany, or let's say the main process of actually hearing and chanting together, even if we are a little, different natures, different philosophies, many things, differences. But this has a uniting effect. As Srila Prabhupada writes, he said, when we come together and actually involve in kirtan, we may not be experiencing the immediate awakening of love for Krishna, but the enemies can be defeated. We were hearing earlier on about enemies. So who are those enemies that get defeated? Huh?
Angry,
Yes. Lust. Anyone ever have any problem with lust?
fear,
Okay. We're all probably we're so much involved in it, sometimes we don't even notice that that's what it is. What else? Lust?
fear,
Krodh, Lobh,
love,
Vatsalya.
Yeah. Anger, lust, greed, anger, Matsarya,
Envy,
What else?
madness,
Madness. Identifying ourselves with this body as being me and mine. Illusion. Don't know who we are. Madly trying to pursue. Even though we see all around us the futility of material endeavor, it all ends up. What was the final result of all our efforts?
death.
Death. And you have nothing. Ends up with a zero. Or you have your karma. But on the surface you have nothing, you could say. Oh, dead loss. But everyone's madly pursuing it. So this way, this is the soul, these are the actual enemies. And this is the process, Prabhupada said. We're coming together, loud chanting. Loud doesn't mean, screaming or something, but verbally, hearing. Coming together to hear and chant, Sankirtan, is the process of removing these enemies. Specifically envy. Other things may be required. We have to look after our health. We have to look after our families. They go on. But the real root solution is this. As Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj said, that there's no other reform which is required. Funny statement. One who thinks they can reform this world is in need of reform. No one can do anything about it, I'm sorry. Just an instrument of providence. You can try, but nothing happens but by the breadth of the hair. It's all governed by the supreme will of the Lord. The only change which is required is the way we see the world. We think everything around us has to change. They have to change. The managers have to change. The guru has to change. The GBC, the government, my wife, my husband, my kids, my parents, the teachers. Everyone else has to change so that it suits me. we look at it, it can be like that. We try to apply the Shastra, but we tend to extract that part of the Shastra which seems to fit into my conditioning. That the only change which is required is a change of how we see, not how you, and everyone else sees, but how I see. And that can be evoked by exposing ourselves to the sound vibration of the holy name, Krishna Kirtan. This is how the change takes place. But we put so many other things in the way, so even when we're in Kirtan, we're thinking of a million other things, other solutions. It's too simple, isn't it? Too simple. Kali Yuga is a very complicated age. But it works. What do you think? I think we all experience it. That, those who, especially, I can only speak of my own experience with it. Definitely when I first had the good fortune of meeting devotees and being absorbed, absolutely absorbed. I guess many of us have had that experience, and hopefully still do, with it being fully engaged in hearing and chanting, day and night practically. That's probably how it was in France, that you were here. Certainly in London it was like that, 24/7 hearing and chanting, the whole temple. Whilst cleaning the floor it was Hare Krishna, whilst serving prasadam it was Hare Krishna, and someone reading Krishna book, and, it was like full. And then 8 hours dancing and chanting on the streets. Simple. We know many other things could be mentioned on that, but to be absorbed and how you feel no disturbance. You don't even want to hear about these other things. You see devotees, or great examples. Ramchandra is a little different. You could say how the purpose is here. It's the morality, following his father's bequests and so on, fulfilling promises. All these things are important in human society. And by providence. In fact, the funny thing is, when Lord Ramchandra was banished along with Sita Devi, she went with him. The demigods were very happy. Does that mean they were demons? No. Why were they happy?
You could kill Ravan. Could kill
They knew.
Ravan.
They knew now at last. This rogue, this whole situation. This is it. Now it's about to happen. Our desires are going to be fulfilled by Lord Ramchandra. They knew it. This is a significant turn of events. But our tendency of seeing ourselves in the center, different reasons why the Lord sometimes performs his pastimes to help release us from these various attachments and false understanding and concepts that we have. Different reasons. Persons may leave. Lord Chaitanya left for another reason, to spread the Sankirtan movement. Lord, or devotees. Just imagine the situation of someone like Kardama Muni. Who was the son of Kardama Muni?
Kapila.
Lord Kapila. Can you imagine? He just had a son. We don't imitate this, by the way. He just had a son. Not an ordinary son. Right? We hope that our children will be raised with Vishnu. But this was actually an empowered form of the Lord had appeared. Lord Kapila Dev. But he left. Why? Irresponsible?
Set up the example.
An example? Good. Definitely to set an example. Panchasordam, the Namrajet is, at least amongst the Kshatriyas, This was you had to do it. Sometimes even at an early age they would do it. Here's an example of somebody at an earlier age who, a king who left home.
Bharat
Pardon?
Maharaj.
Bharat Maharaj. He didn't just leave home. He was so attracted. The secret is not just to give up. We may not be ready for that. This is a big topic. But because he was so attracted to the pastimes of the Lord. This is the secret. It's not just about giving things up, going away, but to evoke and to show by example the real purpose of life. The fifth goal of life, Krishna Paramatma, they show that. They're not just, as Maharaj was so wonderfully explaining, how in our present situation people won't let go even if you, under any condition practically, till death we do part. And fight to the death. They try to get back in there again. I know in Malaysia the President Mahathir, he retired about 85. He came back in at 94. Couldn't let go, And so, because they have no other attachment. You've got to be attached to something.
Queen of England.
Huh?
Queen of England.
Queen, yeah, we heard of her marriage, Queen of England. 70 years she's been the Queen of England. I remember, one of my first memories, I think it was 52 or 53, was going out in the street waving Union Jacks, at the Queen. Coronated, 52, I think, wasn't it? When she
53.
was 51, 50?
53.
I know, something like that. The Queen. 70 years, pretty good. Anyway, we can't go on there. Time has expired. But, yeah. She was good fortune. She got Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, at least.
She came to the battle.
Yeah, she got the Gita. She said
She
to her, there was one, this is in the database, you can read it. One man who was her sculptor came and saw Prabhupada, and this man told Prabhupada that the Queen had actually gotten the Bhagavad Gita. And the Queen said to him, it would be very good if all people would have this, consciousness or this, belief in Krishna. So she said, something's there, and that's why she's still there, hanging on. But anyway, whatever it is, if we can somehow take shelter of hearing and chanting, it may take time, but all the problems can be dissolved. This is the only solution in Kali Yuga. Coming together, Kirtan, the temples are the places for us to come together, hear and chant about Krishna, not about our problems, not about this thing and that thing, grudges. It's our heart that we're here to purify. This is the gift of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the gift of Srila Prabhupada. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Right.
Lord Premanandi. Sorry, it's 9 o'clock already. So we're going to have to go. If anyone wants to ask any questions, please do.
Could you comment a little more on the topic of protection, and particularly, there is a whole spectrum of what a devotee may or want to ask to the Lord. So how far a devotee should bother the Lord for his own protection?
Yeah.
And, different religious traditions have all kinds of requests, material requests, not necessarily spiritual requests, but maybe you can comment a little more.
Yeah. It's related to, we're all living entities are at different stages of evolvement or consciousness. And for the majority of people, you could say around us, that their prayers, their idea of protection from the Lord is based on whatever their understanding of who they are, really. If you think you're a Christian or a Muslim or whatever it is, even atheists sometimes, when caught off guard, God save me. Even atheists, it comes out. But because they're on the bodily platform of life, they're thinking of God save my body, God save my family, God save our country, whatever. Some obviously material request, but that's the level they're on. Still, nonetheless, there is some connection there. It's not to be discarded, it's not to be condemned as such, it may be immature. It's like a child learning to walk at first, it may be stumbling, trying but stumbling, and parents encourage. So encourage in the right way. We see examples in Bhagavatam with Prithu Maharaj, for instance, who was performing Karmakandya yogas. Empowered incarnation of a jiva with Shatyavesh. But he's doing what appears to be ordinary activity. Let's say, according to the Vedas, pious activity, you could say. Why? To show those who are very attached to material returns how to do it properly in such a way that they'll gradually advance. So if the leadership or the guidance is there, even though people may be naturally inclined in this way, if they're taught to do it in a way which is elevating, or they're in a society which is aimed at further elevation, it can be a step towards that. It can be beneficial. It's natural, but one should follow the process. That's all. Prayers may be, maybe recommended for different people in different modes of nature, different ashrams, different varnas, elevation of consciousness. And if guided properly, then fine. Now, the beauty of you could say, the Mahamantra, which is also a prayer, is that even if one doesn't have a prayerful understanding, because you may not think, well, I'm not going to chant that. If you say to people, this is a prayer, my dear Lord Krishna, please engage me in your unalloyed devotional service or something, it may not be very relevant, or people may not be relate to that or even want to do that. You say, chant Hare Krishna, you'll be happy. I give an example in Africa when Prabhupada was saying there, when I was there, Brahmananda Prabhu, late 70s, we were distributing little deities of Gornikai made out of wood. Prabhupada said do it in mass distribution amongst the black people in the villages. And just tell them, put it on your table, wherever it is, look like little voodoos, Prabhupada said, these are good luck, good luck dolls. You say Hare Krishna and you'll get what you want. It's not the goal, it is. If we take what we want, ultimately love of God, but that's probably not what I can ask for. But it's a step. You don't necessarily have to explain all these things. Just somehow or another get people to chant Hare Krishna. It's a unique feature, isn't it? It doesn't come over with asking for something specifically. It automatically has the beneficial effect no matter what our motive. Anything of God's good is particular. It's very effective. So due to different conditionings, different identities, naturally people will see God as the provider or protector in different ways. But gradually, the whole idea is to gradually evolve, mature, so we see beyond just the material aspect of God's protection or God's provisions. But even if, even that, at least there is recognition of God. There's a recognition of a protector, a recognition of a provider. At least that much is there. And if that can be, in a society where we can help encourage that, not to condemn it, but to take it proper. Also many times, just encourage people. They have their commitments, their convictions, to encourage them to follow it properly, to be sincere, follow properly as a Christian or a Muslim or whatever. Hopefully bona fide process which may be there, to follow it sincerely. Same for us. That in our own cases, I don't know how you feel, but sometimes we may not be so transcendental either. Unalloyed devotion is not, it's quite rare. We may still have material motivations. We may sometimes have that mood when we're chanting, or that mood when we're praying. Gradually become purified, gradually. To come to the highest appeal, the highest relationship. Don't know if that helps or not. It's all got its part to play. Done properly.
Draupadi.
Draupadi. Good example, Draupadi. Of course, her taking shelter of the Lord, it's not that she was necessarily saying, "My Lord, please, kill this person," or whatever it may be. She just surrendered, do as you wish. But from one point of view, yes, she surrendered to the Lord. The Lord protected her from the insult of Dushasana, protecting her in that way. Please mentor. Every prayer, there's always, Prabhupada writes, every prayer is always going to be a request. But at least we're approaching, hopefully, the right protector. Right sort of step in the right direction. And then they show examples. And others showing examples when difficulties to take shelter of the Lord. Also besides their own natural inclination, there's no one else to take shelter of for devotee. In every situation, the devotee is taking shelter of the Lord. Not just when we want something. Like a spoiled child, at least. This is something that's good. Okay, go to
Prabhupada said even the inhabitants of Vrindavan, when they were, they are the example of pure prayer, but when there was emergency, a big demon, Keshi or like that, they would turn to Krishna.
Yeah.
Please, Krishna, protect us.
This is there's no who else can give us protection? Whatever level we're on, doesn't matter what level of consciousness we're on, ultimately he's the protector. Much more than that as well. And sometimes it's described as this arrangement. Yogamaya makes arrangements. Snakes appear on the road in Vrindavan, so the devotees call out to Krishna. Because they're always thinking of Krishna. In our case also, these dangers, within or without, can be seen as opportunities. As you just mentioned, how Vrajavasis, Arista, Suru, any of the demons, Keshi, whoever comes along, Krishna, save us.
I wonder if when the pure devotees acting like this, take shelter of Krishna, in the end, finally, he gave the credit for Krishna. This is Krishna is glorified this when he took he come for save his devotees and do the pastimes, wonderful pastimes for saving his devotees, and then Krishna is always the win, always the glorified.
Yeah. Yeah, it's glorious pastimes. Those who are not so faithful may forget about God as soon as they get what they want. Huh?
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And your problem, I don't profit, we get that story of the man falling down the roof, atheist, he's fixing the roof, hopefully that never happens. A roof like the one we have is very dangerous if you fall down, very high. So imagine he's rolling down, and God save me! He was an atheist. And just as he was about to fall over the edge, he had his overalls, caught on a big nail that was hanging out there. He's hanging. Whoa, it was a good job I put that nail in there yesterday and saved myself. Forget, So we shouldn't do that, We should be grateful, thankful, you know, whatever our lot is, but we're so fortunate to be here. Prabhupada's given us saving grace. Otherwise we're just entrapped in a never-ending cycle of birth and death, even if we are good. Praying to God is a step, but it takes a long time, you know. Give me this, give me that. Okay, if that's what we want. Maybe, if we're very lucky, we know. What's that famous verse Prabhupada used to quote from the 10th canto, 88th chapter?
Yasyaham manprinami harishe tadanam sanay.
What does it mean?
Means when Lord Krishna told Maharaj Yudhishthira, when I show my real mercy, I deprive my devotees of everything. So he has no choice but to surrender.
Nice one. I don't know if we're ready for that one yet. But Prabhupada was thinking, showing us by example. He quoted that verse many times. Himself, when he came across that verse, he understood what was going on when his businesses were failing, and this thing wasn't happening, his family life wasn't going the way he expected, and so on and so forth. Even his endeavors to preach were whatever, they were always glorious, but they didn't seem to be very effectual in one sense. But he always took charge. You see how Krishna was taking any other idea and just surrendering to the Lord. Just like Draupadi, no way she could protect herself, just surrender. You take it away, you take it away. And ultimately that's it, taking away inside, not just outside. That's easy. The inside, which is the hard one. It's a change of attitude, it's attachment we have to where we see things, and how we want to be seen. It's hard. It's a tough one. Taking away this and that is easy. Hands at death anyway. But the inner one continues. That's the one that has to change. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you for your tolerance.
Janananda Goswami Maharaj ki jai.
Very good.